Good afternoon. It is as usual 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon. I believe anyone who is connecting at this time, definitely he is passionate about insolvency and SARFAESI matters. We have been doing it and we get a lot of encouragement. Last 2 days I spent at Kolkata in a seminar which was organized by Institute of Chartered Accountants, Eastern India Regional Council. About 150 participants, various dignitaries, and it was overwhelming when a lot of people, they said that we learned from your webinars and please continue, because there is no politics, there is no marketing. It is simple a way of learning, collective learning, and sharing our experience with fellow colleagues. So the subject today is again verification of claims. We have already done verification of claim during CIRP and various judicial pronouncements and issues which are in fact have been taking a lot of time of NCLT and appellate authorities. We have discussed definition of claims, claim verification during CIRP, and we also said that while we verify the claim, it has to be categorized as per section 53. Which clause of section 53 would be relevant? That's important for claim verification. We discussed entire jurisprudence on belated claims, and my understanding and analysis was that there are different orders, talks about waiver of the delay or condonation of delay in filing the claims beyond 90 days. Also, in some cases, the courts have passed orders that the resolution professional or IRP should accept the claims, more specific to home buyers, more specific to deposit holders, and kind of mass. And when it comes to the statutory authority, then the courts have said that once the books of accounts of the corporate debtor is available to IRP, he can refer to books of account, and in case the claim is not coming, they can communicate to the stakeholders. So this is what has been the discussion so far in the belated claims. Then maturity of claim, whether the claim is matured, if the payment is due or not, that also we discussed. And we discussed about the performance bank guarantee outstanding, whether this is a claim or not. Then collation and verification of claim. So we also discussed IBBI discussion paper. So what are the kind of changes are proposed? So today, which is the part 3 of claim verification process under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and today we would be dedicating this webinar only for claim verification under liquidation process. So I'll just share my screen without wasting further time. Okay, so this is our subject today, claim filing and verification in liquidation process. So the first is very important, that the filing of the claim regulation 12 of liquidation process regulations is responsible for is dealing with the verification of claims in the liquidation process. And regulation 31 of the liquidation process regulation, the liquidator shall prepare a list of creditors category wise on the basis of proofs and claims submitted and accepted under these regulations. And this list of creditors should have information which is collated. And that information should be the amount of claim admitted, the extent to which the debt or dues are secured or unsecured, means the security interest also has to be received, the details of the stakeholders, the proof admitted or rejected in part, and the proofs wholly rejected. So these are the obligation on the IRP-RP to prepare a list of stakeholders category wise, and these are the information which is required to be provided in the list of creditors, stakeholders. Now, section 138, because there are few sections and then few regulations. Section 138 of the IBC, it talks about the consolidation of claims. The liquidator shall receive or collect the claims of the creditors within a period of 30 days from the date of commencement of liquidation process. So when we see this, that the liquidator shall receive or collect the claims of the creditor within a period of 30 days. So now the word collect is also written here. My very clear understanding is that the present judicial pronouncements which are coming, that it is the obligation of the liquidator to see the books of accounts, and in case the claims, in case he can see the liability, then he can also collect the claim. So the courts have held many times that the liquidator can also collect the claims or ask the claimants as per the liability in the books of accounts to submit their claim. So this is what is the new responsibility, which is, of course, it is written in the section 38, but with the judicial pronouncements like statutory liabilities, like workman, like home buyer, the courts are saying that this liability is known to IRP-RP, so the liability must have been admitted. So the resolution plan should also incorporate the how to deal with these stakeholders, how to deal with these claims. So it is also like kind of a requirement now that the financial creditor may submit a claim to the liquidator by providing a record of such claim with an information utility. As we discussed one day, that it is now mandatory for any Section 7 application that the information utility record should also be placed. In case however, it is provided that in case it is not recorded in the information utility, the financial creditor may submit the claim in the same manner as provided for the submission of the claims for operational creditor under subsection 3. Now, but then of late, we have seen a circular from NCLT where they are saying that in case of any Section 7 application, the proof of claim, proof of default, and the transaction which is to be recorded with IU should be submitted. Section 38 talks about the consolidation of claims, like operational creditor may submit a claim to the liquidator in such form. A creditor, like a creditor which is partly a financial creditor, partly an operational creditor, he will submit his claims to the extent is financial debt and in manner. So he will submit the claims separately, one for the one as a financial creditor and the other as the operational creditor. But the most important part is which is provided in Section 35, Section 38, subsection 5, and that says that the creditor may withdraw or vary his claim under this section within 14 days of its submission. Now, this is also a kind of matter which is taking a lot of times of the courts, because once the claims are filed by any claimant, and thereafter within say 2 months or 1 month or 3 months, in case they realizes that there is no asset in the company and hardly there will be any recovery possible, then they try to withdraw the claim, so that in case they will withdraw the claim, they would not be required to contribute towards the liquidation cost, and they would also not be responsible for spending times in the SEC meetings or other stakeholders meetings. So this is where I believe this 14 days time is very important. When creditors are now asking liquidators that we want to withdraw our claim because we don't see any recovery in this case, the liquidator has all the rights to say no, sir, you can't withdraw, because at the time of 14 days has already been lapsed and you have not withdrawn within 14 days of your submission. But you have to continue with us. You have to be a stakeholder, and in case under any regulation or under any reasons of IBC, if you are required to contribute for the liquidation cost, you will have to do that, and later on that will be refunded to you from the sale of the assets of the copy debtor. So this, like the withdrawal is permitted only within 15 days of the submission of the claim. So this is one part which is important to understand. Okay, so then we go ahead with the next. Now the verification of claims. Section 39 talks about verification of claims. The liquidator shall verify the claim under section 30. So it's like as per the board direction, the liquidator may require the creditor to file certain more documents and evidences. And admission or rejection, section 40 deals with the admission or rejection of the claim. The liquidator may, after verification of the claims under section 39, either admit or reject the claim in whole or in part. However, where the liquidator rejects the claim, he shall reject in writing the reasons for such a rejection. So this particular subject also is taking away a lot of time of courts, because this is the one part of litigation that once the liquidator is rejecting a claim, most of the liquidators are not writing reasons in detail. Now the courts are saying that you have to reject a claim by giving reasons in detail, and those reasons are appealable. So in case you don't give the reasons for rejection, then how can the claimant file an appeal? Because for filing an appeal, the claimant must know the reasons for which the claim has been rejected. So since this liquidator is a quasi-judicial authority, the claims which are admitted or rejected by the liquidator, that becomes an order issued by a quasi-judicial authority. And then when it goes for an application or an appeal before the adjudicating authority, then it so the see like what I'm trying to say is the difference between CIRP and liquidation. One, that in CIRP we only prepare a list of creditors and we constitute a committee of creditors. However, in this case, in the case of liquidation, and however, in the case of CIRP, we are not required to communicate with each claimant. And we are not even required to give a letter to each claimant, letter for admittance or letter for rejection. But in case there is a rejection, in the case of liquidation, it has to be a detailed order giving reasons. But in case of it is acceptance, no reason is required. But the decision has to be communicated, even if it is rejected, even if it is accepted. The decision of the liquidator has to be conveyed to the claimant. Now, section 41 deals with the determination of valuation of claim. The liquidator shall determine the value of such claims admitted under section 40. And the board has made regulations like 60 regulations, submission of claim. So the claim who claims to be a stakeholder shall submit its claim or update its claim submitted during the corporate insolvency. This was a little later amendment, and in that later amendment, we saw that the regulations changed, that now it is not really required that fresh claim is filed by the claimant. Whosoever has filed claim during CIRP, he can simply say that there is no change, or he can say that I have to add interest only, or he can say that I have to update some transactions, and he is not required to file all the documents again. So the proof has to be given by the claimant, the proof of debt for which the debt or claim right of money, that has to be given by the claimant. Claim by operational creditors, we are not going to take much time on this. Form C is required as per Schedule 2, and some contract for supply of goods and invoice and order of the court, if any, and financial accounts are required. Similarly, claim by financial creditor, again, the form will be submitted as Form D of Schedule 2. Then the documentary evidence which is required, financial contract, record evidencing the amount committed by the financial creditor to the, so financial statements and order of the court, these are all required. Now, this when we see this section 38 read with regulation 12 sub-regulation 2, it is very clear that during liquidation process, all the creditors are required to submit their claims within a time period stipulated in the public announcement, which shall be 30 days from the liquidation commencement date. So, liquidation commencement date, that means like when a company goes into liquidation, first is the public announcement. Within the public announcement, then the notice, the claim starts coming. So virtually the claim filing time is 25 days, because the first 5 days are given for public announcement. Then once the claims are filed, once the complete list of creditors is made, it is submitted to NCLT. Then the next responsibility with the liquidator is to constitute a consultation committee, and that is required to be submitted within 60 days. So once the committee is constituted, that committee will provide consultation to liquidator. So when we see this difference between CIRP and liquidation, we see that there is no regulation, there is no section which authorizes liquidator to accept belated claims. So in case the claims can be filed only within 30 days, then it has to be filed within 30 days. And there is no provision which actually can grant some extension or can even condone the delay. So again, like withdraw within 15 days, but then the liquidator shall constitute a committee after the approval. That's what it is, right? Now, the in this operational creditors, Regulation 7, Form C, Regulation 18 is for financial creditors, they will file their claims in Form D. Regulation 19 is for workmen and employees, and they will file their claims in Form E. Regulation 19 again for authorized representative of workmen and employees, the form is F. Other stakeholders, the form is G. Now, this is one that we have already said, that the Section 35 says that the liquidator has to receive and collate the claims within 30 days from the commencement of liquidation. And as per Regulation 30, the liquidator, provides that the liquidator shall verify the claims within 30 days from the last date of submission of claims. So exactly 2 months is required when the claims are received and collated, and secondly, when the claims are verified by the liquidator. So 30 and 30, total 60 days are required. So as we said that the liquidator has the power to reject or accept in a quasi judicial powers. Regulation 19 again say that the liquidator may admit the claims of a workman or an employee on the basis of the books of account of the corporate debtor if such workman or employee has not made a claim. So this is an additional responsibility to the liquidator, that in case any workman has not filed their claim, so the liquidator can take up the matter with the books of account. He can verify from the books of account. He can see what are the liabilities appearing in the books of account, and accordingly, he can admit the claim. So, Regulation 25 of the liquidation regulation, if the amount claimed by the claimant is not precise due to any contingency or other reasons, the liquidator shall make the best estimate of the amount of the claim based on information available with him. Similarly, Regulation 24 the liquidation regulator provides that the cost incurred by the liquidator for verification of determination of claim shall form part of the liquidation cost, provided if a claim or part of the claim is found to be false, the liquidator shall endeavor to recover the cost incurred from such claimant and shall provide the details of the claimant to IBBI. Now, let's see what this Regulation 25 says. It says that the liquidator shall make best estimate of the amount of the claim. Now, best estimate is only possible when there is valuation is not done. The transaction is not being done in financial transactions. Like, for example, a case of home buyer. So in a case of home buyer, the liquidator will, when they file a claim, for example, they filed a claim that we have the allotment letter, we have the builder buyer agreement, and the builder have also given us the possession. So our only claim on the company is that we want to get it registered in our name. The title has to be transferred in the name of the buyer. However, the company is not able to do this. The company is not able to do this because of the reasons. So therefore, and now the buyer says that I only need the title to be transferred. So what is the value of this title? See, when I see my financial statements, even if I have given the possession, and if the possession is really genuine, means it is not a non-compliance of any law, it is not a non-compliance of any terms and conditions of the lender. Like suppose, for example, in case the flats are mortgaged to banks, then the NOC is required from the bank. But in case the NOC is not available and the possession has been given to the home buyers, and my understanding is that that possession is a kind of possession for fitments. That possession cannot be for the occupation which is legal occupation. So therefore, the liquidator has to estimate what is the value of the claim of the home buyer when there is only one part of the contract is left, that is the title transfer. And so in case such things happen, then the liquidator can do two things. One, in case the liability is still appearing in the books of account as the title has not been transferred, then full claim can be taken because the asset is still in the name of the company, and hardly matters that the possession is not with the company, but the ownership matters in insolvency. So because the asset is in the balance sheet of the company, so he is claiming the full amount, whatever he has paid, that is the value of the property. And then he will again write that he is more interested in the registry, he is more interested in the title transfer documents. And in case that happens, then he doesn't ask for any other compensation, or then that claim can be admitted for the full amount. But in case any home buyer kind of try to file a claim for delayed compensation, so that can be estimated by the liquidator from the builder-buyer agreement, the clauses of builder-buyer agreement, and in that manner, the assessment of the claim can be done. So, Section 21 says that the IRP shall, but that's for the CIRP, but we are actually today focusing on the liquidation. Now, we have various judicial pronouncements under the liquidation processes also. Supreme Court in Swiss Ribbons Private Limited and others versus Union of India, and it's a writ petition, and which was decided in January 2019. In this judgment of Swiss Ribbon, it was very clearly held that it is clear from the reading of the code as well as regulations that the resolution professional has no adjudicating authority or adjudicating power. A resolution professional is given administrative as opposed to quasi-judicial power. So the quasi-judicial powers are only during liquidation, not during a resolution process. So as opposed to this, the liquidator in liquidation proceedings under the code has to consolidate and verify the claims and either admit or reject such claims under section 38 to 40 of the code. In section 40 and 42, 41 and 42, by way of contrast between the parties of the between the powers of the liquidator and that of the resolution professional, are set out here in below. Section 41 and 42 it is clear from these sections that when the liquidator determines the value of the claim admitted under section 40, such a determination is a decision and which is quasi-judicial in nature and which can be appealed against to the adjudicating authority under section 42 of the code. So that's what I said, that the liquidator takes a decision in writing, and in that particular order of the liquidator is considered to be an order coming from quasi-judicial authority, and the quasi-judicial authority's action can be appealed against before the Supreme Court. Now, in another case, SBS Transpol Logistics Private Limited versus Cargo Containers Line Private Limited and others. It is NCLT principal bench. The court had clarified the position in respect to the acceptance of the claim of the creditor after commencement of liquidation. Here, the court held that all claims made before distribution asset has before the distribution of asset has commenced by the liquidator shall be duly considered. The liquidator resisted from accepting the claim by the petitioner on the ground that he could not include any claim after liquidation process has commenced unless permitted by the adjudicating authority. NCLT observed that the claim was already reflected in the balance sheet under the code. It is the duty of the resolution professional or the liquidator to entertain the ascertain the claims. So it is also held in this case, thus it is mandatory for the liquidator to collect all claims, whether or not filed by the claimant, until the assets or funds are distributed. The verification cannot be rejected. The verification cannot be rejected after distribution of the assets, but no further claim can be entertained. So what it says is see, this is acceptance, and then it has to be reflected in the balance sheet. So I think the claim verification again has gone into a very different kind of judicial forums. Let's see another Aditya Birla Finance Limited versus CS Padma Apana, liquidator of RE Cable and Conductor Private Limited. It was January 21 judgment. The liquidator in instant case is correct in rejecting such belated claim, as she does not have any authority to entertain the same when the distribution of asset has been completed by the liquidator and an application seeking order of dissolution of the claim is pending. So in this case, the belated claim was rejected because the liquidator doesn't have power. And the court also did not help because he won that the innocence cannot also not be proved in this case, because this is a finance company and they definitely would keep they would be aware of the changes in the laws. So therefore that having no knowledge of the law was also not accepted in this case, and delayed acceptance of delayed submission of the claims, it was rejected by NCLT. And finally the court also said that once the assets are distributed, it is not possible to accept any claim. Further, Bank of India versus V. Mahesh, liquidator of Nagarjuna Oil Corporation. It's an NCLT Chennai bench judgment. Each of the creditor of the corporate debtor with a personal hearing, it is almost impracticable for the liquidator to follow the principles of natural justice before admitting or rejecting the claim. So somebody said that before accepting or rejecting the claim, the liquidator should give power to each person to represent and meet everyone. So the court has said that it is not practically possible for the liquidator to meet everyone, and to kind of the doctrine of natural justice would not be applicable here in this case. Then we talk about Shiv Shakti Interglobe Exports Private Limited versus KTC Foods Private Limited through liquidator Anup Kumar Singh and others. NCLAT judgment in February 22. The present case, the Uttar Haryana Bijli Vitran Nigam raised an unpaid due amount against the CD after CD has sold as a going concern, and the proceeds have been duly distributed. NCLAT held that it is essential to see that the corporate debtor is not burdened by any past or remaining unpaid outstanding liabilities prior to the sale of the company as a going concern, and after the date of the sale proceeds distributed in the accordance. Now, any claim, if it comes where the company has been sold as a going concern, the proceeds has actually been distributed to the stakeholders. So at that time, accepting any claim from Uttar Haryana Bijli Vitran Limited, I think that is rejected by the court, and it is also accepted by NCLAT. Then we have Amarjit Singh versus Goodwin Packpet Private Limited. Now, in this case, the regulation 23 of the liquidation process regulation has been referred in the judgment, and it was held that it was the duty of the applicant to produce the documents or evidence or clarifications sought by the liquidator in order to verify his claim of interest. So liquidator was right in this case, the claimant may not have given time, may not have submitted document. Therefore, the claimant had to go to court, but it was rejected there also. Now, in the next judgment, which is Sabu KV versus Shri Ravindra Chaturvedi, liquidator of Excel Gases Limited, again NCLT Kochi bench. It is held in this case that the claim of wages cannot be sanctioned unless the statutory constituted forum either under the Industrial Dispute Act, Payment of Wages Act, Bonus Act have rendered its decision. However, no such distribution or award is available in the company in favor of the workmen, entitling them to claim these amounts. So I think the liquidator cannot adjudicate in such manner, and the adjudication under Industrial Dispute Act, Payment of Wages Act, Bonus Act is not within the jurisdiction of the liquidator. Liquidator will admit the claim as per the definition of claim. So the definition of claim is very clear. Many people would become entitled. Now, the IBBI has also issued various disciplinary committee orders related to the claim verification. Before even I go to this, let me see what are the questions. The first question is from Harvinder Singh Dami. Is Limitation Act is applicable on debenture holders and depositors of NBFCs or investors in Ponzi scheme? Yes, I think this has been a settled view that the liquidator, while accepting the claims, can also look into the limitation aspect. So accepting a claim, it is dealt with differently, and filing an application under section 7 or 9, it is a different scenario. So the limitation period, according to me, is applicable for verification of the claims, and in case any claim has come and there was no movement in that claim, there was no payment in that particular account, and there is no such court order, then I think it actually will get the benefit of limitation. This Dami. Then Mr. Kumar PR, home buyers are looking for recovery, whereas IBC is framed for insolvency process. Also, the other financial creditor link financial institutions take their share too in case of bankruptcy. No, I'm not aware of that the financial creditors like financial institutions take their share too and other bankruptcy. That's not I'm aware of. But I think what Mr. Kumar is saying, I couldn't understand what Mr. Kumar is saying. Then I think we can go to Mr. Arun Shrivastava. As per the amendment in Schedule 3 to Companies Act, details of the disputed and undisputed trade payable to be furnished in notes to accounts. If the liquidator has rejected any claim, but it is reflected as undisputed in the notes of accounts, how to deal with it, kindly verify. No, if the liquidator has rejected, I think what exactly is saying is that the detail of disputed and undisputed trade payable to be furnished in notes to accounts. If the liquidator has rejected any claim, but it is reflected as undisputed in notes to accounts, how to deal with. According to my understanding, the liquidator is doing this verification part independently. he is not influenced what treatment has been given to this claimant in the books of account. He is watching it independently and he is verifying the documents, and if primarily it is acceptable, then the liquidator is bound to accept the claim. Then we have a question from Mr. T. Ranganathan regarding Regulation 19 sub-Regulation 4 reads, the liquidator may. It is purely the option of the liquidator, or is it mandatory for him to take notice of claim from the records of the company which are not filed by workman or employee? See, when I said, when this says it is may, Regulation 19 sub-Regulation 4 says it is may, that actually means that in case we write shall, then it will be the obligation of the liquidator to get the accounts completed and also to get it audited. And then he can only say that this is not receivable. What should I do? So, but then this in case of workmen, the word may can be considered as almost mandatory, but in case the workman files their own claim, then the liquidator is not supposed to pick up the figures from the books of account. But I think the reason why it is written may is only to define a scenario that in case the claim has been filed by some people, those are not supposed to be picked up from the books of account. Mr. Virapandiya says that a recent SCN dated 17th of August 22 issued in the matter of Mrs. Rakesh Verma, authorized representative. The IP has been directed to deposit the expenses paid to her over and above the fee provided in Regulation 16 capital A of the CIRP regulation. The IP in this case had to verify more than 4,500 claims, but as regards the remuneration payable as per the clause 16A8 is capped at 2,000, 20,000 only per meeting. The AR in this case had claimed expenses such as administrative and clerical support at 50,000 rupees per month, and for advisory role, the expenses had been claimed at 15,000 per month. Under such circumstances, how the remuneration or the fee charged could be termed that the remuneration charge is not commensurate with the volume of work undertaken. How the AR could manage to complete such voluminous and numerous claims, more than 4,500 for remuneration fixed at 25,000 per meeting. I think, Mr. Virapandiyan, there is a gross error in your assumption that the claim verification has to be done by the authorized representative. Claim is supposed to be verified by the liquidator and the team of the liquidator. Then the liquidator will provide a list to the authorized representative, and the authorized representative will take the view of all the home buyers before he comes in a meeting, and that view will be taken on e-voting, and the liquidator will support or the RP will support the authorized representative regarding creation of link, regarding use of the voting platform, and all the expenditures of the voting platform will be paid by the RP. The emails, whatever emails are supposed to be made, that will be made by the RP. See, we have appointed authorized representative in many cases, and the job of the authorized representative is to come in the meeting, sit there, and whatever views has been forwarded to the AR by home buyers, that has to be presented on their behalf in the meeting of committee of creditors. This is what is the role of AR. Now, in case the AR is interested in keeping 2 employees and also consultation, so the AR cannot take consultation remuneration. AR also cannot be expected to keep 2 employees who actually would be working for the AR only for this case. But I think although I think the remuneration is less, but the difference is that it is not the duty of the AR to verify the claims, and also all that secretarial work will be done by the RP and not by the AR. AR will only oversee whether the voting and all that is being done properly, whether that's the only thing that he can see in the CIRP process. Birendra Tripathi is asking a question, please explain when chit fund company number of claims more than 15,000 and books are not available, how to verify and admit claim, how your IPE is doing in case of HB and dairy case. Now, the claims are filed, see, like in such cases, in chit fund cases or in case of unauthorized investments, the claims are filed by the claimants because they are financial creditors, so it has to be filed on email. They have to submit copies of the certificates, copies of the passbooks, whatever has been issued, and the verification is supposed to be done by the team of the RP or the liquidator. Now, it is only volume may be higher. The volume, if the volume is higher, what it needs more manpower, or it needs some kind of technology. Like very recently, in the case of AG8 real estate company at Bhopal, we are actually using the PDA system, which is prepared by NESL. And in that PDA, every home buyer is supposed to file their claim online by clicking a link, by registering. The home buyer will register, and the entire communication can be handled through the PDA. So they will file their claim, automatically the form will be generated. They will download the form, sign it, and then upload again. Whereas the information comes to RP in a format which is provided in the software. So that's a technology, or maybe more number of people can be appointed. Mr. Amarjit Diwan is saying, I think the claims which were not time barred on initiation of CIRP process cannot be disallowed as time barred in liquidation process. I think yes, the claim which were not time barred because the right action has already been taken. It's a judicial action by someone that he's filed a claim, and in case that particular process is going on, it will not be considered as time barred because he's already submitted a claim, and in case not submitted, then it might become. Again, Mr. Amarjit Diwan is saying, are you sure IRP, RP cannot reject any claim in the CIRP process? I never said that they cannot reject any claim in CIRP process. I'm saying the adjudication process is not the duty of the RP. Various judgments are saying the RP has to see the authenticity of the documents attached. RP has to see the numbers, calculations, documents, timings of filing. That's what is the duty of the IRP. But in case something which is not matching and the calculations are not available, the basic documents are not available based on which the amount is being claimed, then the IRP can partially reject it, considering that the calculation is wrong. But the IRP or RP cannot adjudicate. Suppose an arbitration is pending. IRP, RP cannot adjudicate, but then even if the arbitration is pending, the IRP, RP will admit the claim. Even if the appeal is pending, if there is a demand outstanding in the income tax department, and that IRP will have to admit the demand, even if the appeal is pending, even if the dispute is pending. So I was just answering some questions, so therefore I'm not moving the screen. Then Mr. Amarjit Diwan is saying, if claim is withdrawn within 14 days by claimant, is liquidator under obligation to accept the withdrawal? Yes. The section 38 subsection 5 provides for it, that if the claim is withdrawn within 14 days by the claimant, the liquidator has to accept the withdrawal. Mr. T. Ranganathan is asking a question, in case of contributories of the company not filing claims, and after distribution under section 53, if anything remains for contributories, can those who have not filed their claim can be considered for distribution based on the books of account and statutory registers? According to my understanding, no. The process is very clear: filing of the claim, collating claims, making a list of creditors, realization from the assets, and distribution as per section 53. And while we are doing so, and in when we distributed the section 53, maybe everyone is getting 100% amount, and whatever will be left, that will go to first preferential shareholders, and then it will go to equity shareholders. In this entire process, nobody can say that the money will not go to equity shareholders, and we will try to find out some more liabilities and pay them. Finding out liability is not our duty. They have to submit their claim. But in case the books are available, then we can say that the books are available. So we know that there are some further liabilities. So except other than this workman, it is not the duty of the liquidator to admit the claims. What the courts are saying, that you cannot admit a claim other than workman, which is specifically said that in case the figures are available, you can admit the claim. What the courts are saying, that you provide the information of that liability in the information memorandum in case of CIRP. But in the case of liquidation, you only have to communicate with the people who are not filing their claim. And in case they are not filing, then I think the liquidator is not responsible for even distribution to those people who have not filed their claims. Mr. Rajan Rawat, he's saying the operational creditors who had submitted claims during CIRP have now submitted claims during liquidation more than 50 days after the last date. The liquidator has rejected the claim. Is it correct? No, my understanding is that it is not correct. Even if you see this IBBI discussion papers, there is a proposal in this case that whosoever has submitted their claim during CIRP, they can be taken from CIRP. In case there is an application required, application should be done. But this claim which is submitted after 50 days, while the RP had full information about that claim, because the RP had the claim during CIRP. Therefore, according to my understanding, the RP is not justified in rejecting the claim. Mr. Brindra Tripathi is asking, sir, books are not available in the case of chit fund company. Can we admit claim on the basis of the documents submitted by them? Yes, yes. In the case the books are not available, then the only option is to admit the claim based on the documents. And it is not important that we should take out the liability. But then in case you see the specific regulations are there in the liquidation process, that it is the duty of the liquidator to complete books of account. If not immediately, later on, the liquidator has to get the books of account completed. In case the liquidator doesn't get the books of accounts completed, maybe book from the bank statements, or I think the liquidator's job would not be considered as done correctly. The regulations are very clear that the books of account has to be made. Ms. Sarika Jain is asking why it is not possible to withdraw the claim after 14 days under section 38. The law has been made in such a manner that the claims, once the stakeholders file their claim, And then later on, in case the stakeholders are seeing that there is no asset in the company and they withdraw their claims, and after that the liquidator is just uh, they're actually leaving the liquidator in lurch. So that's not advisable, because the liquidator is working for them and they have to contribute. They cannot simply withdraw their claims and run away, because the liquidator has already worked for 6 months or 3 months or 4 months. And then everybody came to know that there is no asset. So therefore, in case they withdraw the claims, that means that they're leaving the liquidator in lurch. So these are the questions, but then luckily let us try to see these disciplinary committee orders, which are basically on the verification issue. So I think let's see this December 21 order from IBBI, which is IBBI should have seen to Mr. Jaswant Singh, as he outsourced his primary duty in engaging an independent professional, Kumar Mukesh and Associate, for verification of claim, and also included cost incurred in verification of claim separately in CIRP cost. Now, the observations of the IBBI in this case is that the IRP is appointed by the adjudicating authority and is duty bound to conduct CIRP with fairness and diligence, and must maintain absolute independence in discharge of his statutory duties without any external influence. It is the duty of the IP to receive and collate all claims and code in explicit terms cast a duty of verification of the claims on IRP. Further, IBBI circular 003/2018 dated 3rd of July 2018 mentions that it is hereby directed that an insolvency resolution professional shall not outsource any of his duties and responsibilities under the code. Where the applicant appointed as an IRP in the CIRP of the CD had outsourced his primary duty in engaging an independent professional for verification of claims and also included cost incurred in verification of claims separately in CIRP cost, which was in contravention of provisions of section 18(1)(g) and section 2082A and section E. Penalty equal to the fee paid to the independent professional was levied. So this is basically on outsourcing on the verification of claim, because verification of claim is very important duty of the RP or liquidator. Now, another order, which is April 20, the contravention in this case is as per the regulation 13 of the CIRP regulation, it is the duty of the IP to verify every claim received by him. It has been observed from the minutes of the first COC meeting that claims received from creditors have not been verified and certified by Messrs. Easy Resolve. The IPE, which shows that the RP has outsourced his responsibility to verify claims to the financial creditors of the financial creditor to the IPE. Now, the observations are RP had outsourced his duty and engaged IPE for verification of claims. He further included the payment made for the same in the IRPC, thereby burdening the ailing corporate debtor with additional cost. A fee of 3 lakhs plus GST has been paid to IPE for verification of claims, which was the primary duty of the RP himself. Mr. Koteshwara has displayed a casual attitude towards his duties under the provisions of this code and regulation, and therefore I think some penalty was imposed. So the one that we have seen that outsourcing is not really accepted by the IBBI. Second is that the verification of all the claims is important, like even outsourcing to the IPE on a payment basis is also not accepted. Now, in another judgment in July 2021, NCLT confirmed the status of BVN as a financial creditor of the corporate debtor. However, the COC no longer wished to allow BVN to continue as a financial creditor despite the order passed by the AA. RP enabled the COC to pass a resolution by allowing additional agenda items of removing BVN as financial. This is actually not correct, because as far as the claim verification is concerned, this is the independent role of the RP or the liquidator, and the committee of creditors or the stakeholders have got no say on this. RP is not an adjudicating authority and is not required to inquire into the factual scenario between parties and determine their rights and liabilities. The task of the RP is to limit itself to confirm that the claim received by him are true and correct. As per Section 25, subsection 2, clause E of the Code and the Regulation 13.1 of the CIRP regulation, it is the duty of the RP to verify the claims and thereupon maintain an updated list of claims. So Regulation 14.2 of the CIRP regulation further provides that the RP shall revise the amounts of the claims admitted when he comes across additional information. When he comes across additional information warranting such a reason. The code does not entitle RP to review the category of a creditor at will when such categorization has already been made and the COC which has been constituted after being certified by the IRP before COC. The power to adjudicate on claims thereupon is strictly conferred with the adjudicating authority, and any person aggrieved by such determination of IRP-RP may approach the adjudicating authority. So the adjudication is not the role of the RP. In another order in July 22, where the pursuant to Section 18 of the Code of the CIRP, it is the duty of the IRP to collate and verify all claims by himself. However, the RP has outsourced his duties to third parties. So in this case, also the penalty was imposed for outsourcing of the claim verification. In June 22, again an order was received, that was Regulation 13. It is the duty of the IRP to maintain list of creditors. In the instance the RP has failed to include the amount claimed by the creditor, amount claimed and remitted, and the security interest amount. So this is also a non-compliant because he definitely requires that all the information is required to be given in the list of creditors, and that should be given. So this is also a non-compliance. Another order, which is a May 22 non-verification of claim within 7 days of receipt of the claim as mandated under Regulation 13 of the CIRP. Contravention 2, constitution of COC without verification of claim. Contravention 3, assigning voting share to related parties in COC as prohibited under Section 21, subsection 2. So this is again the claim of the financial creditor, operational creditor, statutory authority employees, workmen were kept under observation pending even after the first, third, and fourth meeting. RP constituted the COC without admission, verification, and collation of claims in consonance with Regulation 12. RP included assigned voting rights to a suspended director of the CD being the related party in the COC in violation of the first provision. So this is also a good order, and it talks about that the committee has to be constituted, and it cannot be constituted without verification of the claim. Non-verification of the claim within 7 days, it has to be verified, assigning voting right to share the related party. Then again in May 22, the NCLAT wide its order gave a specific direction to IRP to call a meeting of committee of creditors. Hence, the IRP was duty bound to collate all the claims submitted by the creditors in person public and determine financial position of the CD and constitute committee of creditors, and then call a meeting of the committee of creditors as per the provisions of the code. Contravention, RP failed to collate the claims and thereafter constitute COC to avoid the requirement of 90% vote share for withdrawal under Section 12A of the code. RP has not collated, verified the claims received in pursuance of public announcement. RP failed to constitute the COC as per the provisions of the code. RP did not seek any clarification. So these are all the non-compliances. The IBBI is not accepting this. So I think we are over with our timeline of 1 hour. So maybe that this is the IBBI discussion papers have already been discussed. Now we are waiting for the final regulations, which might come any day. So whenever the final regulations will come, we will deliberate on that. And for the time being, we should not exceed our timeline. So it is already 7-8 minutes up. So we will come out with a new subject. The claim verification has actually been completed in 3 parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Anything which is left, which is like the discussion paper, that was separately taken up, and we have a video already uploaded, what is mentioned in the discussion papers, and that can be heard, that can be seen from our YouTube channel, which is AAA Group. So therefore, there is no point repeating the discussion papers. So with this, thank you very much, participants. Thank you for joining and remaining connected with us. It is our way of learning. It's a way of collective learning. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.